All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of the
Back.
Cryosphere Chat, which I
So
believe we are
exciting.
still calling it part of this Cryosphere podcast, but this is the Cryosphere Chats. And this time we are joined by the usual cadre of hosts, and we will be joined by we will have a special guest appearance by someone in just a few moments. But currently, Daniel and Becca are over in just outside Zurich. Daniel and Becca, and they are participating in a massive orgy of cryonics
What?
information being
Can you
presented
not?
today.
Why?
There.
What do you
So, would you guys
even?
like to fill us in?
Last time it was the something
What are
fiddle.
we
It was like a
doing?
weird fiddle
What are we
reference, and then
doing?
this
Do I
time,
should I just leave? I mean, I'm not
You
going to be
don't like all
associated with
this
you people.
information about cryonics, Eric, being
You
dumped
are.
on you in a moment's
I'm
notice?
not.
there's two times in a row. I feel like Max is deliberately trolling us.
Yeah, yeah. There's something going on here. I don't.
Yeah. Well, welcome, Emil Kendziorra, the
Yeah,
head founder of Tomorrow Biostasis and running the conference right now as we speak.
absolutely. Not anymore, luckily. We just ended at least the main part of the conference. But the training is still happening, all the surgical training stuff tomorrow.
Can you give us an idea of what's been going on over there?
Yeah, of course. So we host these annual conferences, right? Called Biostasis. We've been doing this now for a couple of years, and in the past they were always very scientifically focused, with a lot of researchers giving what's up, what they're currently doing on, what they're working on, and now over the last couple of years we've started to move this more and more into a training and workshop and kind of a community building thing. And this year, even though there were some scientific talks, it was mostly about networking and building community and talking to the people, our members who are signed up with Tomorrow Bio. And then tomorrow there will be another day with surgical training and SST training for medical professionals.
So how are you finding medical professionals that want to help with this?
I mean, it's not. I'm not saying I have like hundreds and hundreds, right? But we have a couple. So there's a team from the US coming over for training. There's a couple of people, like a doctor from France. There's a couple of people who are interested in actually doing something. And like the requirement for tomorrow was you need to have. You don't even, in fact, need to be a medical professional. You just need to have a high degree of motivation to get involved in at least SST, if not cryoprotections. Some just happen to be medical professionals.
Can you say anything about what they're learning during the training? What do you want them to be able to do?
So when I say training, Tomorrow Bio a while ago has switched over to simulated cases. So we're going to basically do a simulated case from A to Z. Full SST, of course, all the surgical procedures, all the perfusion procedures, and so on. Plus, we have a long list of new things that we want to try that have not yet been implemented in day-to-day cryopreservation practice. One point being, for example, that of course in a normal cryopreservation you do chest compressions and oxygen, and you cool initially until you have reached around 20 degrees Celsius. And then you start perfusing, right? Or you start surgery and perfusing, to not have a body that would then accumulate cold ischemia, because you would take off the chest compression device, of course, if you want to do surgery. Now, one thing that we're trialing is that while chest compressions are still running, you start perfusing with a femoral cannulation. And then once you have already cooled down faster now, because cooling down, of course, is much faster once perfusing runs, you start with you do central cannulation, aortic cannulation as well. These types of things, right? Like clamping of descending aorta, cannulation of the abdominal aorta, like a lot of like new kind of surgical procedures, and that will be the second part after the initial, kind of standard procedure training.
So you're actually designing new cryopreservation procedures to use on,
Yeah,
is that
like
okay?
surgical procedures. I mean, we have done this for a while, right? Like Tomorrow Bio, like from a cooling perspective, Tomorrow Bio does nasopharyngeal lavage, for example, right? We do the nasopharyngeal space we use as a cooling surface. We've trialed peritoneal lavage, where you use the peritoneal space in the stomach as a cooling space. Now, it's very difficult to say which of these new procedures has what kind of effect, right? Because differentiating that is very, very difficult. But I would argue they probably are net positive, and then the new procedures will be relatively easy to see if they turn out to work, right? You will just be able to see much, much faster cooling rates initially.
I feel like, Eric, you started on like a really serious question, and I felt like we should keep it a little bit lighter up front.
Okay. I'm not
So
always the lightest person,
it's
so
just too
make
dense.
it
So
That's totally
I
fine.
make it.
I'm all good too.
I want
Yeah.
to bring up a more important topic than whatever Emil was saying, and that is the limited edition Lego
Oh,
set
the
that
Lego set. That
I
is the
purchased from
yeah.
Tomorrow Bio. And
Mm.
now that we're recording, I can say that Emil assured me this is limited edition
Oh
and
wow.
that no new specific ones of this one will ever be produced.
Did you ask
And
him to
No,
sign it?
exactly. No,
so
he hasn't.
of this
Well,
specific one. So I'm
How many? How many are? How many in this run?
We have 100 of those. Like, so
okay.
there's going to be 100. So we it's basically a Lego, like relatively, with different parts and like a brain part in the middle. Because as you know, we do brain preservation instead of neuropreservation in the traditional sense.
Alcor could never
Yeah,
pull this off with the Neuro ones for these Legos because they would just be little heads.
yeah. I mean, that
ooh,
would work. Why not? That would be fine. Yeah.
none
So
of
it's basically a Lego replica of the doer that we use at Tomorrow Bio. So it's basically this one here that you see behind me here, but in Lego format. With the parts and everything. And we build like small versions where you just have one patient in them, right? That is not a totally correct representation, but kind of like a small version, like, I don't know, I think it's 100 something pieces. And this big one is like 661 pieces. So a relatively large Lego set
Which
as a doer.
funny story. Daniel did not realize he had to build it himself. He thought it came pre-made.
No, it's a Lego set. It has like 100 something step, one of the normal Lego manuals that you build it yourself.
I am not. I do not like building puzzles, so
Fair
I've
enough.
already purchased it, and it was not inexpensive. So I'm probably never going to build it. I'm just going to keep it as like a mint condition box collector thing,
That might be the prudent choice.
because it would probably
So,
take me a year to figure it
I'm gonna
out.
be watching eBay for you, Daniel. Here, so
yeah,
don't you put it up there?
yeah, right.
So maybe we can jump into some of the things that at least me and Becca found interesting from the conference here. For me, I think probably a headline which I think people would find most interesting was this new ambulance fleet project. I think you're using a different term to kind of describe the whole
Yeah,
project.
Tomorrow ambulance program. Yeah.
Yeah, program. Yeah, but I guess my takeaway from that, and Emil, correct me if I'm misconstruing it, but you are for $120,000. People can purchase these fully equipped ambulances to be held by them, near them. And from what I understand, the catch is that Tomorrow Bio would be able to utilize them as needed, but otherwise the person purchasing it would have it available to them to be utilized if they need a cryopreservation. So it's a matter of kind of having a win-win for both parties.
Yeah, basically. So we basically would build them. We would build them at cost. We would train people for free. If you have a local group that would want to be trained, right? And then it would be located wherever you want it to be located, right? And ideally, of course, for argument's sake, probably most people would want to have it located in their hometown. And then you would have, of course, if need be, if there's like an emergency case, right, you would have significantly better response times than would otherwise likely be possible. But since, again, we're doing it at cost, right, the deal is that if we have another case of one of our other members that has not paid for that ambulance, of course, we're allowed to use the ambulance. But of course, we're going to replace all the parts that might have all the consumables and everything. We're going to replace after and give you, if there is a new version, replace against the new version. So you kind of, if there's cases that we do with that ambulance, you would always get an upgrade. Yeah, but in the meantime, you have an ambulance in your backyard, basically.
And you did say, I think, that you can't just let it sit somewhere. You have to drive it around to kind of keep it in condition.
Yeah, that's part of the deal as well, right? Because of course we would rely on that ambulance if need be, right? So you need to kind of, I mean, it's not like a crazy commitment, but like, once a month you kind of need to drive it around a bit. And then if it should, I don't know, like something could happen, right? Like if one of these, if there's any maintenance needed, then again, we would do it at cost. And keep it alive, and then of course invite you to any and all trainings that we do, and also come over if there's at least a couple of people who want to be trained.
Can the ambulances be used like if the Cryosphere, if we here wanted to purchase an ambulance from you, but we wanted to like take the Tomorrow Bio logo off and put our like Cryosphere penguin on it? Is that allowed, or do we have to be a walking
totally.
advertisement?
You can paint it whatever color you want it to be, and put whatever logo you want on, as long as we can use it. But we're not. It's not a branding. It's not a hidden marketing play from tomorrow.
You're not trying to market to the random people coming by our house.
No. I mean, we would happy to. We give you some discounts if you put Tomorrow Bio logos on it. But otherwise, you're more than welcome to put any logo on you want.
Okay.
Emil, can you give us I know during the conference you were talking about how things are going to be different in 2026 relative to how they've been in 2025 or before. Can you give us a bit of information on that for those of the listeners who maybe haven't tuned into the conference?
So, I mean, there's a couple of things that there's a lot of engineering details that we're going to build more of these ambulances, and then put these ambulances in either if someone buys one of those, as we just discussed, or just from our side, we're going to distribute them over Europe for now, right? Of course, we're still in the process of US expansion, so US is also, of course, a focus. What else? We hope that in 2026 we would have the first patients that have given us consent to take microsamples of their brain or spinal column, so that we can do ultrastructure quality checks after preservation, which in my mind is kind of the next frontier of the quality of cryopreservation. We of course working a lot. Sorry,
what happens if you see that the samples aren't showing something great? Do you know how you would actually change your procedure to try to make it better next time?
I think there's like 3 outcomes. One outcome is the samples look great. Okay, cool. We will improve, or like good to great. Okay, cool. We improve. We continue to improve, but generally we don't need to fix anything. I deem that to be not super likely. Let's see. Then there's they look somewhere between like to okayish. Then we would need to see, okay, how can we change the procedures more fundamentally? More fundamentally would be, for example, what I said with femoral cannulation, that might do something. We would definitely need to talk to our members in a more, more not more direct, but making sure that they have a clearer understanding that they really need to work with us, meaning, maybe go to another country where pronouncement is faster, making sure to definitely contact us, right? All of these things, like bigger changes, but nothing fundamental. And then there could be the case that, let's say everything else went well, CT scan looks good, there was little ischemia, whatever, right? And then ultrastructure looks horrible. I deem that to be also unlikely, because there was published data unpublished data was presented at some conferences in the past where people have shown cases with ultrastructure data, and it didn't look horrible. But let's say that is in fact the case, then we would need to rethink fundamentally. Fundamental rethinking could be, we could build our own hospices, right, that are cryo hospices. Is that a small project? No, but like having bad ultrastructure is just not an option. We could, in worst case scenarios, we could go stronger on making really sure that there's little delay, and then go something for aldehyde stabilized cryopreservation, right, and so on and so on. Like, it's a bit not easy to say what exactly it would do, because all of that would rely on like tremendous amounts of prior research and figuring out how to fix that problem. But it would need to be fixed. If on average, after cryopreservations that can be provided under realistic conditions, as they are today, if ultrastructure looks bad, fundamental changes would be needed, and it would become our utmost priority to fix that.
Okay, so yeah, you're looking for quality, right? And you mentioned specifically signs of ischemic damage and ultrastructure. So I'm imagining that ultrastructure tells you something about perfusion quality and ice formation because it looks good. So like maybe cell membranes are not squashed, right? And there's like you can just is there a way to see if there's like get a measure of ice formation or like directly and perfusion quality, or are you just always sort of inferring this from sort of like a qualitative look at how things look under a microscope?
So you see ice crystal, like you see ice. Like
Okay.
if you do ultrastructure, you see the ice.
Okay.
Right, and you see other ultrastructural damages, right? You see like, you know, there's cells missing, kind of, you know, there's empty space where there's not supposed to be empty space. Like you cannot trace axons anymore, right? So you can literally see it, and then the question would always be, okay, so whatever damage there is, how do you mitigate it?
As another topic we actually had discussed on the our last episode of this was we kind of got into marketing and how to kind of appeal to a broader audience. I think when we did the podcast with you a long time ago, Max and I, we had I know there was like one public survey, but so far I guess you've done 3 public surveys from what you said. Could you elaborate a little bit on the details of that? I think one of the things that stood out to me, you said the difference between what people say they would be interested in and actually following up was a pretty big gap. But I think between all 3 surveys, you said you were able to kind of narrow down what percentage of, you know, the population, I mean, I guess based off of the types of people in your surveys would be likely interested and willing to do cryonics. Could you kind of expand on that?
Yeah, so the surveys were relatively similar. Like, you know, we did one in the US, we did one in Germany, and we did one in Switzerland now. And there were a couple of other organizations in the past, or researchers, that have done similar questionnaires, like basically understanding sentiment towards cryopreservation in these countries. And what positively surprised us when we did the first one was that somewhere between like 20-something% of population says cryopreservation is my end-of-life choice. Now, of course, all of us know that, you know, nowhere near 20% actually get cryopreserved, right? And so over time, like, you know, initially we thought, okay, so, you know, interest, like a lot of people are interested. That must mean that also a lot of people will, you know, relatively soon sign up. And then we figured out that, you know, interest doesn't mean intent. And then we even figured out there's a lot of people who have intent to sign up, meaning they actually said, I will sign up, but intent doesn't what we call actionable intent, meaning they have the idea that they will do this at some point, but there's no indication that they will do this anytime soon, right? And then, of course, all of us also do know, even if a lot of people say, you know, I might do this at some point, as history, if history is any indication, in the end, a lot of people then don't do it. Right. So what we're still trying to figure out, and we still haven't really, we haven't really figured this out, is how do you need to communicate a topic in a way that people actually say, hey, this makes sense, and I'll do it now.
What are the best ideas that you currently have that you haven't tried, that you intend to try in 2026 to bring in more people and potentially get more traction?
So it's more so a long list of things that we'll probably try. I don't know which ones we will prioritize yet. So it's events, it's more PR. It is more, to be fair, we will continue doing everything that we've done. We will retry a lot of things, because of course, a lot of things, when I say we know that they don't work, a more precise statement would be we've tried them a long time ago and then they didn't work. But of course, we were a different organization back then. We were less known, right? So, for example, Facebook lead campaigns might work as long as you have enough attention on media at the same time, which back then, of course, we didn't have, like almost no articles about us. Now, of course, there's hundreds. So these things might turn out to work. So we would probably retry some of those things. What's fundamentally new? We will probably try some B2B approaches. Yeah, and then let's see what sticks.
When you say B2B approaches, you mean like getting someone to agree to provide insurance, life insurance for cryonics purposes to their organization and their employees? Like,
like as an employee perk, basically. Yeah. We tried this a bit and it didn't work not at all, because there's like 2 things that you need to convince people of then, right? First of all, you need to get the organization on board to actually do sign up, to agree to it, right? And then within the organization, you need to get the people to actually say, I want this. Right. So of course it would be a perk that's not like the organization says, okay, all of you guys get cryopreserved now. It would need to be an offer that then individual people need to pick up, which makes it not easy.
Yeah. So presumably you're going to target organizations where you think there's a higher percentage of people working there who would potentially be interested. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
software development.
Like software development would probably be the first thing, or is like that's how we tried
Autism
it.
awareness centers, or is that a little too?
Listen, I have good data that our members who signed up with us are more software developers. On other data, I don't have much data. So we would basically take our member base, right, and say, okay, so these people apparently have a higher likelihood of signing up for cryopreservation. Let's see where these people accumulate from a job market perspective, and then
I realize you have a lot to get back to, and we don't want to keep you too long. But is there anything? Can you leave us on an optimistic note about where Tomorrow Bio is going in 2026?
Easily, of course. No, so I mean, a lot of stuff is kind of working. I think apart from stuff never working as fast as I want it to work. I think we're like all the parts that I think are important are going well. Like meaning response time, like preservation quality, research project. I think there's a lot of interesting stuff coming up from blood-brain barrier modification to this electron microscopy project that I mentioned, and so on. The only thing that I think we have not figured really out yet is how to get people to sign up. So if there's anybody here listening to that podcast who has been joining this podcast and has not signed up yet, finally do so. That is the big open question, I think, for this field.
Emil,
and if you're listening to this podcast and you're not signed up for cryonics, like what is your problem? Why are you listening to like a hardcore cryonics podcast that delves deep into the weeds if you're not interested enough to sign up?
Don't be so judgy, Daniel. You never know what people's
I'm judging. If you're cryocrastinating, I'm judging.
Yeah. We thought like that we thought that the cryocrastinators in the Cryosphere group is like a good target or whatever, and it has turned out to not be a good target at all. Like all these people are hardcore happy with not being signed up or something like that. I don't know, but it was not low hanging fruits.
Yeah, to be fair, I think the cryosphere cryocrastinators might be a slightly different breed in that they might have legitimate blockers, like they really can't afford it or really don't have coverage. Because I think if you're already at the point where you're in this server, you're maybe not the typical cryocrastinator.
No, totally. But I mean, we have means tested pricing, right? So if you tell us and prove that you don't have the money, right, we reduce our membership fees to down to pretty much nothing. So I don't think this might be an explanation why there's for some people it might just literally not work. But I don't think all of these people who are there cryocrastinating literally can't afford it. Anyway, other than that, I'm very optimistic about everything going forward.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you, Emil, for joining us.
Emil, for joining
Amazing. Happy to.
Awesome.
See you soon, everybody. Bye-bye.
Good luck.
All right. Well, I still have everybody here. Is there anything anybody wants to jump in and talk about? I have a subject, if not.
Yeah, I do. We'll have to rewind, unless any of you paid attention.
We'll fix this in post.
Did I make Emil laugh earlier with my Lego joke? I've been trying for 3 years to make him laugh, and not even say again.
He wants to, he's not going to be super German when he's on a podcast.
That's what I'm saying. He's super German, and I have not. It's been like a mission of mine to make him laugh, and the most I've gotten is a smirk from him, even in my like best material. So I really want to see if that Lego bit.
Oh, and also we should mention you've actually done stand-up comedy. Like you are someone who's put some thought
in
another
life,
to be funny, right? I mean, is this secret? This isn't secret.
Maybe also in the next life, who knows?
Or in the next life, yeah.
Okay, but
you're ever going to publish that for everybody to see, Daniel? Throw some of that up on YouTube.
Yeah.
Do you have any cryonics jokes, or is that just it's too
I don't, but I always get like the bug again at some point. So it's just a matter of time before I go through like an awkward phase in which I will be like doing cryonics bits, and you guys will all have to like live through my attempts at kind of throwing that on the wall and see.
I don't remember this ever happening. I've known you for like a long time.
Yeah, no, it hasn't come up yet, but I just it at some point it will. And then you get like into like a phase where like for 3 months you'll just be like you'll be turning everything into a joke, and you'll be writing bits down. So, but it's coming at some point.
It's good to know.
One other thing I was going to mention to Emil before he had to split was they also announced a new Tomorrow Bio member portal coming out soon, and right on the heels of the Alcor member portal. And I just wanted to say that it's suspect. It's a little sus. And I'm not saying they weren't
If
working on it
anything, Daniel,
before. I'm just saying it's suspect.
Isn't it flattering? It should be flattering. You know, it should be like, oh, you guys inspired Tomorrow Bio to do what you guys are doing.
Okay, we'll take it. But yeah, go ahead, Max. What did you wanna bring up?
Well, I feel like we could end today on the following question: what's the most dangerous thing each of you has ever done? The most dangerous thing, the most exposing yourself to as close as you got to the imminent threat of death or great bodily harm.
I think I might win this one, actually. But I'll let you guys go first.
Oh, we'll save you for last then. In that case, Becca, you cool.
Okay, Max.
Well,
since
right,
you brought it up, you go first.
I'll get everybody started. All right, so I got two for everybody. First one was I was in Iceland in the winter in a car that had winter tires but no chains or anything. And I'm from Miami. I'm not used to driving in the ice or the snow. And I was going up to a lighthouse that was up a very steep slope with no guardrails, nothing on the sides, just a kind of narrow strip, just wide enough for two very small compact cars to go up. And I was going up and up and up. And there was just a precipice on both sides for the car. And I was like, oh, whatever. I didn't even. And then I realized I'm putting the same amount of pressure on the pedal, but I'm not going up nearly as fast. And then eventually I realized my car is just kind of not going up at all until I couldn't do anything. And I just sort of stopped and I pressed the brake and I realized the car does not have enough traction to keep going up. And if I try to go back down, I'm going to go back down very, very quickly and probably careen off the side to my death. So that was a harrowing experience. And I inched back by letting my foot off the brake just a tiny bit. Probably took like 40 minutes for me to get all the way back down. And several times the car would start drifting to one side or to the other. So I'm pretty sure I was very close to potentially falling to my doom. That was pretty bad. And the other one I'll tell was I was driving in Florida. Already a bad start to any story. Both of these involve cars, by the way. There's probably a lesson to that. But there was a huge block, huge backup, lots of traffic. Nobody was moving. And I saw that there was a bridge coming up. So it was like a little bit of a bottleneck and just long, like a mile. You could see the cars, nobody moving. It was just backed up for some accident or something. And suddenly cars started going off to the side. They got onto the shoulder and they were driving off the shoulder to get around people and just cut them off. I didn't like this. I don't like people taking advantage of others. So I pulled my car off into the side, into the shoulder, and kept perfect pace with the car next to me so that the cars who were trying to drive around couldn't manage it and would have to now pile up behind my car. Everybody was honking, people were yelling, and finally a guy in a Jeep Wrangler pulled off to the side and drove right by the side of my car and screamed that he was going to blow my head off. And I said, oh, that's, I didn't care. I was young. I was like, whatever, I don't care. I'm doing the righteous thing. And he drove by me. Then some other cars started driving by me. And I said, well, all right, I made my point. And I pulled back into the lane. But the idea that, you're doing that in Florida where people are probably packing in their cars probably wasn't the smartest thing to do.
It's an incredibly American story.
Yeah.
So Max, you don't like people cutting the line. What happens? What happens in person if someone cuts the line on some type of movie theater or somewhere where everybody's? Do you get that?
I will make it a point, including to put myself in great bodily, a threat of great bodily harm or whatever, to prevent that from happening. I've done it multiple times in my life. I won't bore everyone with those stories.
Were they always in a car though? Because I feel like people have a false sense of confidence when they're enclosed in a vehicle.
Oh no. This was in normal lines too, multiple times in my life. I don't like line cutters.
Don't fuck with Max on lines.
No, I will not let it happen. So yeah, that'll be fun.
Okay, Eric, do you have yours or should I go?
You can go. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, come.
Eric, you've lived a very placid life, never taken any risks.
I mean, maybe we'll save my dangerous story for the next episode.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you're not even gonna.
Yeah, it's more dangerous than we realize here.
I don't know.
I don't know. Now I'm just curious. Why don't you just?
No, I mean, no. You go. I don't know. I don't. I'm
okay.
Yeah. What?
Let's
Eric's
see.
thinking about whether he wants to divulge it. So Daniel, you can go.
Well, I guess mine was also involved a vehicle of some sort. Although I guess is a bicycle considered a vehicle? Like what's the
I think
exact?
so.
Yeah,
It can be
just a
today.
two-wheeled vehicle. I don't know. When I was like teenager, I would do mountain biking, and like I can't even imagine it now. Like thinking back to it is like ridiculously dangerous. Like I mean, yes, you're wearing a helmet, but you're going down some pretty steep hills with a bike. Like multiple times, I've had gone over the handlebar. Like it just, like, I could have hit my head on a rock multiple times. I would say that's something I couldn't. That would be like considered extreme sporting today to most cryonists. I don't know the exact stats of dying by mountain biking, but I'm sure there's plenty of traumatic brain injury. And then I guess one other smaller one was I was also when I was younger. Was mountain climbing in the Rockies, um, and I was terrible at reading these topographical maps. Which, if anybody's ever seen them, they are like confusing as f-. They're just like tons of like little lines next to each other that you have to decipher like where you're going. And I went over a route of some type of I don't know if it was technically a mountain or a hill or whatever, but it was crazy steep, similar to your story, Max. Essentially careening to my death on both sides, and it wasn't until I was like going over the. It's been a while since I remember the terminology, but this kind of very thin top portion that I was like, this doesn't feel right. Like I don't feel experienced enough to be going over this. And I was also with a group, and I was leading the group, and so I was also like it was also dangerous for everybody. Okay, so that's I would these days as a chronicist, I will not be mountain biking and will not be mountain climbing either. So no mountains. So no cars for Max or lines. No mountains for me. And Becca, did we impress you at all with our puny stories? You seem to be very sure that yours was the most dangerous up front.
Well, okay, to be fair, mine is a bit of a different kind of danger. So it's maybe not quite as imminent in a single moment, but I think it sounds cooler. And that is the fact that I have been to Iraq. And not as somebody who's there in the military, but I have traveled there because I have a good friend who's actually the head of engineering at Tomorrow Bio. And that's his wife, who's in the back waving. And he is from a region in northern Iraq called Kurdistan. And yeah, it's funny because Saka always told me, Berlin, they have so much crime here. Where I'm from, it's so safe. They don't have all this crime. It's like a very, very safe place, I swear. And then I come and visit him, and we go like dirt biking somewhere, and he says, yeah, last year a Turkey drone striked some civilians here. So I was like, oh, okay. So it's just a different kind of danger, right? You might not get pickpocketed, but you might get drone strikes. So that is a different kind of risk, I would say.
Did you see any drones attempting to strike while you were there or anything back then?
I did not see any drones. I think at that time they were mostly in the mountains. They were trying to flush out some groups there that want independence in Turkey. So, anyways, but I got out just in time. As Sako and Firo, they ended up leaving like a week after me, and I think their flight got canceled because of some drone stuff, and they had to drive somewhere to fly out from another place. So that's just not the kind of thing you really think about when you're in the US or Europe. But at least I was going to say there's less road rage, but that's not true either. Actually, I have also heard stories about people getting into shootouts over very trivial things. So,
Now,
fun times.
Becca, would you, given that you've now just kind of explained the risk, would you advise people to travel there for weddings? Just random question out of the blue, no context given.
I would, because it does sound cool. Maybe there's a bit of risk there, but to be fair, most of these things are stories you hear. It's just like with shootings in the US, like they happen and you hear many stories about them, but how often do they actually happen? And statistically, how likely are you to die in them? Probably not super high. And I don't know if you're traveling there for a wedding for no particular reason. The hint is that me and Eric might be going there for a wedding.
Just for context, yeah, Eric and Becca are getting married. That's why they're going there.
Yeah, exactly. That's a perfect destination wedding. No, but I think it's worth it just because when I was there, I shot guns for the first time, and these were like proper, not the stuff you can get in the US. These were like military grade guns, and now I can tell people that I learned to shoot in Iraq, and when they say thank you for your service, I'll say no, I was there on vacation. No one has asked me this so far, but I think it will be very cool and a very nice zinger eventually when it does come up.
Becca's just flexing on us right now. We're over here like lions and mountain biking, and then she like.
Well, you can come to Iraq when we go for the wedding.
Okay. We will.
I'm sure Katie wants to come too. So.
Well, we can do a separate episode where we break down the risks here and kind of we'll have people vote on it and decide if I should go to Iraq for a wedding. We'll just abide by whatever the
let's make it a poll. Whoever
okay.
listens to this podcast can decide if Daniel should go.
You guys, they're gonna kill me
to Iraq.
They're gonna get.
I think that's a great idea. I think it's a great idea.
Okay, so should we end it there, or have you found your
maybe next time?
Okay, maybe next time. Okay, let's remember that. We got to hold him to it.
It's a cliffhanger.
It's true.
Someday Eric will tell us his harrowing story. He'll put all of us to shame.
Well, it should be around a campfire. We should do an episode around a campfire to roast marshmallows.
We'll get that all set up, Eric. Okay, folks. Next time we might be around a campfire, and Eric will tell us his.
I'll tell you some stories.
His stories. Thank you all for joining us, and we will see you all next time.
Bye, guys.
Goodbye.
Bye. Don't die.